Hello and welcome to Stylish Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I've got Jon Tatham. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm all good. Thank you very much. Yes, good.
Good. It's nice to see you.
Yes, I've been quite looking forward to this. It'd be something different to do, and I just hope I don't bore you and anyone else who's listening. So, but we'll see. I'm sure you can edit all the rubbish bits out.
Oh, if I was doing that for myself, there'd be nothing left. So I'll just explain to listeners where we know each other from, but we know each other from a South Manchester agency, and you're an art director and graphic designer. I've got that right?
Yes, well, my official, if you want to be that, I don't believe in job titles, but, this broadly, so I'm a creative designer and art director and designer artist.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So, and what I do say is, like, in terms of art direction, this is where we've met, is like photographic art direction, because that's quite a wide gamut of things, isn't it, really? That's the part of the job when I was at the last agency where we met that I really loved, because doing me creative design, and at that stage it was just layouts, and then get to do that in the studio, to shoot photography wise.
Yeah.
So,
it's quite I found it quite interesting how you guys got your layouts, and then what we were shooting had to fit within your certain square, essentially, with the price points had to be in certain places, and we couldn't have stuff covering the price points or text, or it must have been quite a puzzle to figure out.
It was, and it was a good exercise, those 9 years, and I can't believe it was 9 years. Wow. A good exercise in consistency, and just I forget what the word is tenacity, maybe, in finding, like, the creative bits within this really tight bit of framework. As you said, literally sometimes that's a box, we've got to fit this in here to go around here, and it's could be, you could see it as quite stifling, but it taught me a lot. And in some, on the plus side, it says you didn't have to do 1,000 different variations, because you knew it got to fit like this. You knew what, almost down to what angle you want the photographer to be in, and what kind of, working with yourself and other stylists, you knew kind of what you'd be getting in the background after doing it so long. So it became an easy and enjoyable process for us. But to get to that stage, we'd probably had about 8 weeks before we'd got there,
Oh, wow.
Because it's, in terms of that process of what we were working on, it was a 16-week process from start to getting it printed and in the stores. So, there was well, can we do this? Well, actually, no, we can't, because we've already had those conversations before we've got here. So,
yeah.
And you actually had quite a lot of time to do these things,
Yeah.
More often than not. But resilience, that was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Resilience. Yeah. And I know some creators or designers have struggled with the kind of process of that we were working in. But that's what it taught you, resilience, and just to see the bigger picture,
Yeah.
You want to still have those ideas and push them through, but sometimes, you pick your battles, and then move on.
Yeah.
So, and I think coming out of that now, I've learned so much from that, but coming out now and having that freedom is just now as freelance, although as I talked about just before we came and started recording, is that it's utterly liberating when you go freelance. Scary when you've got quiet times.
Yeah. You shit your pants a little bit, don't you? When it's quiet, you just kind of
I think that is the expression, nail on the head. Yeah. Yes. I'm lucky at the minute. I've got a bit of a cushion, but it's not going to last. And but things, it's been quite quiet. Started trailing off. November, December was really quite quiet, and January too. But I've got side projects and stuff that I've always wanted to take a bit more seriously, So I can do that now, and that just keeps the creative juices flowing. And chasing people for work or whatever, or speaking to another, it's I love that. I've got the freedom to just. I said, look, even if you've got nothing for me, let's just sit down and have a coffee or something, or I've got a couple of commissions on that, on the designer art things, and just going out and meeting somebody, take our new dog that we've got with us and sit down there, and it's just those little moments that you're not getting paid for them, but enjoy it. It's just feel. I don't think there's anything else to say or to leave. Liberating that I've kind of re-energized of what I'm about.
Yeah, I think it reinvigorates you as well, doesn't it? And that kind of, there is a certain thrill of chasing clients and being like, hey, I'm amazing, come and book me. And it's quite it can be daunting when you first start doing that. But actually, when you get in the rhythm of doing it, it's quite, you get a bit of a thrill. You're like, oh, am I going to get work? Like, and you kind of get a bit excited. And also, it's nice to also then take those moments where I call them life admin days, where I go and get my haircut or go to the physio or the dentist or whatever, and you've not got to ask anybody to take that day off, or you've not got to ask anybody to have a day off to go and meet people for a coffee and get your creative juices flowing as well. And it's quite, I feel like it's freeing, the same as you, really.
It is, and also if you've got friends who are in the similar business, then some of those, it's just like, it's just old fashioned, people call it networking or having a campfire around some town hall or whatever, some nonsense, whatever. It's, it's just good old fashioned networking and sitting down and having a coffee and, just talking shop for a bit, and enjoying that.
Yeah. And it's nice to chat to other creatives, because I don't know about you, but my partner Nath just isn't in this business. So he doesn't fully understand the creative stuff. Sometimes he's like, why is your head going off on 20 different tangents? But if you sit down with another creative, they go, oh yeah, of course. And they follow along and know what you're going on about.
Yeah.
So that's quite nice as well.
It is. I'm married to a maths teacher, so you couldn't get more. And I did have somebody at the agency said, what? You're married to a maths teacher? I find that really strange for a creative. But there are, it's, I'm very, although, I am a creative and I do I don't do a lot of conceptual stuff, but there's got to be some kind of reason for what I'm doing, or some concept, even if it's very tiny. But that is kind of a process. And I think people who can't, you're creative, you do need some kind of line to follow at least. And so there is some similarity of, but I marvel at when my son who's 15 now and doing some sessions with my wife on a bit of maths help, and I do have to walk away because it's just I have no idea what they're talking about.
No, I feel like I'd be the same. I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. But, one actually, well, this reminds me actually, one, when we were in lockdown, the one useful bit that I did, and I absolutely loved it, is that, right, well, I'll do art lessons then to whatever. But I took, and I said, I know they like the phones. And I said, right, you're allowed to use your phones, and we're going to find the alphabet in the garden.
Oh, that's cool.
So I said, bring your phones and we're going to take a picture and we're going to find a picture of the alphabet in the garden or around the house. So it's like the shadow from the A-frame on the swing. That's the A. And just finding bits of, and just, trying to get them a bit more creative. And there was we had to be a bit creative with some, put a stick next to a ball, that'll be letter P, but it's... Yeah. But I love that, so, I when it comes to teaching, at least I could be useful on that kind of stuff. And then I got them to use those photographs to do like a little grid on paper.
Oh, that's cool.
And use, and just, so that was, a bit of creativity, coming to fruition.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, actually. I'd have loved that as a kid.
Yeah. And we did something similar when I went for this abstract art session that I did recently over at the Art House Cafe on Bridge Street in Chester. And it's a bit of continual professional development, if you like, I think, to sort of like help with the designer art stuff I do. And it was just to see, if, like you see in the background there, there's a picture. Sorry if you can't see that while you're listening, but there is a big abstract picture behind me in front of the obligatory green plant. It's not a yucca plant, which were very good. Apparently, the thing to have in an 80s ad agency. But anyway, but it was this abstract art thing course that I did. It was just stepping out of the norm for a day.
Yeah,
and getting a bit of inspiration and I find that just doing stuff out of that is completely off the track from what I normally do can inspire me, and as you said, when we're saying you're free to do whatever are now as a freelance. So I get quite excited, even if it's because I've been doing the same thing for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm doing something, even the simplest little logo design to me is just, brilliant. Can do that. I don't care if it's, it'll only take me an hour. It's just having these little bits of things. Oh, are you all right doing these amends today? Yeah, fine. Fire them across,
Yeah.
I'm just absolutely loving freelance life.
Good. It sounds like it's really reinvigorated you, actually.
Yeah, well, sorry if I'm going on a bit, but it
definitely
has. It has. I'm back to the person I should be.
Yeah. And I think sometimes working in one place for a long time is great because you learn lots of different things. But then sometimes it's having that leap of faith to go, I feel like I've done enough here, learned enough here. Let's try something different. And that takes balls to do that as well.
I think it's and also, I mean, I had tired of the actual job years ago and had thought, I didn't think I'd ever go freelance, to be honest.
Yeah.
And, I looked at various other places and I was looking for something different. I went to an outdoor retailer's for a job there, and I didn't get that job, but I was down to the last two. And I knew that I probably wasn't going to get it for what I wanted from that job.
Yeah.
But it was brilliant. It put something new in my book. It kind of validated that I did know what I was doing. And I think that maybe helped in deciding to go freelance. I saw an opportunity. What I was about to say is that sometimes it's the people you work with. I was really, really lucky. I mean, I worked with, how we met down at the people at, I'm not usually going to mention agencies, but people at Craft when I was working in the photography studio down there.
Yeah.
Worked with some wonderful people down there. And the other designers and creatives that I was working with at the agency, there was a group of, so it would have been, 5 of us. And we rarely had each other's back, especially through the COVID and whatever.
Yeah.
And it when I went freelance, I there was a few things going on at the agency, and I took a leap of faith because I knew other people weren't ready. If they were, shall we say, asked to leave or given the opportunity to, I jumped straight in, and I've been through rounds of redundancy in other places before.
Yeah.
And scraped through, and was absolutely bricking it if that happened to me. So to turn around and suddenly go, right, if there's an opportunity, I'm off.
Yeah.
Was completely. I don't know where it came from. It just decided that was the time. It's not. It wouldn't have been like me to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's obviously, as you can tell, it's obviously the right thing.
Yeah.
You know, if there's no work in 3 months, then ask me again. But
this is it though. Like, we all have dry patches, and it does tend to drop off in the winter.
Yeah.
And as long as you're sort of ticking over and you can pay your mortgage and pay your bills, and, you know, then when all the work's coming in and you're turning it away and wish you could split yourself in 4, it makes it all worthwhile. It's that work-life balance. I feel like once you get in the swing of it, it's actually quite nice to have a bit of downtime, and then you're like, right, I'm fully rested and recuperated. Let's go detangle these bloody Christmas lights, you know, and just get going for it in the summer. But it definitely, it does take a little while to get used to. I mean, I've been freelance 12 years, or something like that, maybe even longer, and I'm still getting used to it, you know. And it's just learning to relax and being like, right, okay, there is work out there. There's enough work out there for all of us freelancers as well, you know. It's just taking that leap of faith and just going, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, I think the one that scares me the most is having, if it did go too quiet, which I don't think it is, because I have got bookings throughout the year now. Yeah. But it's having to go back to normal life. And anyone, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. No. And I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now if I hadn't. I mean, you know, working for an ad agency or a designer or creative, doing whatever, is not normal. It's a wonderful thing to be at, and you've got to remember why you do it. You do it for the craft, not for the. Well, that's what has always kept me sane. Is I love my craft. I might not agree with the client we're working for, or, you know, what they're about, but it's the craft that's kept me going. Even if whether that's, you know, the craft of being able to churn out layouts 9 to 5. You know, or, you know, and then switching to a photo shoot. That's, you know, the days of where I had 2 or 3 photo shoots outside. Luckily, it was all at the same place, but I'd be going from one field to another field and then coming back. And then if it was happened to be at the particular agency I was working at, had a really big gardens, and then going back in the agency, doing some more layouts or looking at, and then, or, you know, doing my picture selections or whatever. But it kept you on your toes, you know, and it's. I haven't had, since I've gone freelance, I've only been in the studio a couple of times. I went over to a lovely place I can't remember, the really nice people over at Canton Hall. There's a photography studio over there doing some food. Nice. It's quite simple stuff, but it was nice to be out there and working with a different photographer.
Yeah, I really like the variety of people as well, because I don't ever shut up, as you know. It's nice to go.
Well, I've never noticed that before. No, seriously, I haven't. I've never thought I like the working. It's like, right, I need this to happen, and you make it happen, and there we are.
Yeah. It's just the chatting along the way. But I like that different variety of going in and seeing different people and catching up with people. And I've been in a different studio the past couple of weeks, and I've seen people that I haven't seen for 5 years. Yeah. And I've been like, how's your dog? How's so-and-so? What have you been up to? You know, and it's just the nice variety of different people, because you get different, despite us all being creatives, you can bounce different ideas off different people, and it's so nice.
That's is, really nice thing to do. It is, and it's, and also, because when I took the jump to go freelance, I rang somebody I used to work with, maybe 15 years ago, but we'd always kind of kept in touch, or we both know what we was about. And I was confident enough to give her a ring and say, look, this has happened. And, you know, she said, you could not have rang me at a better time. Yeah. And had, you know, they've been plying me with work ever since. It's gone quiet now, but it's kind of, that's normal, I think, from the clients they have. But hello to the wonderful people up in there in Whitby. You know who you are. And they're a great team up there. But people that I used to work with like 15 years ago, I'm working with again as freelance, who work for this agency. Yeah. And we went out in Leeds not so long back, And it was, hooking up with them again. It was like I'd seen him yesterday. It was just, but it was not, we did talk a bit of shop, but as, creative people, you tend to have quite abstract conversations, and especially if they've got a similar sense of humour as you have. And it was just, getting on now, but, and I like to, I'm not one for going out till 2:00 in the morning, but there I was chatting away 2:00 in the morning,
Crikey.
And walking back through the streets of Leeds back to the hotel, and seeing all the students coming home wasted.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thoroughly sober.
But that's it. It's nice to see. It's nice to see lots of different creative people, and it also sounds like the universe just aligned for you.
Yes.
Like it was just the right time. You picked up the phone. I know it's all by chance. I'm a bit of a believer in the universe kind of doing its thing for you, but
it's all down to karma.
Yeah, it just clicked for you, hasn't it? And that's really nice. It's really nice to hear, is like that you just found work and stuff's popping up for you that in unexpected places.
Yes, and I did. I've got a call with someone tomorrow. Actually, it's all. He owns a brewery, and I had a art exhibition years ago in one of his pubs. Well, hang on, two of his pubs. It moved from one pub to another. With it being me, it was about fell running, but let's not go down that road because I'll bore you for years. So yeah, and I've hooked up with him again. And what's nice about that, he's a very busy bloke, so he doesn't come back to me for. If you're listening to this, Lee, I'm talking about you. But he's, again, it's the chance to work with him on a daytime, because I was having to do it at the side as a side hustle.
Yeah.
But be able to do it, let's say, inverted commas, properly, business-like. Because he's very much like me. He likes to work with nice people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's not that I've worked with any particularly horrid people, because the last team I was with are some of the best in the world I've ever worked with. They're such a nice bunch. And losing my thread a bit there, but coming back to working, choosing who I work with.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as a freelance, you'll work for anybody. If it comes to it.
Yeah. But if you've got choice.
Yeah, having, being able to go to those people free and have that conversation, go up to Mac and have a coffee with them in the Fountain Inn in Mac. What a nice place that is.
Oh, I've not been.
Mac. No, you should. It's it's very Art Deco.
Oh, nice.
And I chatted to him about it. And it was a brand new team of interior designers that have helped him out with that. And it's more of it is a pub, but it's a daytime coffee destination, and cool. At night you have drinks. So it's more like coffee is the front and center, but they have their beers in the back.
Oh, nice! That's nice, actually.
It is, and it's a really nice place in Mackie's got there. So it's the Fountain Inn. I'll promote that because it's a good place to go. Even though I don't live in Mac. Yeah. And just going there for a coffee in the day, it's lovely. It's just to see the decor.
Yeah, I think I've just written it down, so that looks like it's a day trip for me and Nath when we're both off one day.
Yes, definitely. Have a walk around Mac Forest and then go in there.
Yes. Yes. Even though we lived in Stockport, we're now in Holmfirth, and when we lived in Stockport, I think we only went to Mac Forest once, and it was literally half an hour away.
Yeah.
We were it was on our doorstep pretty much, and we just didn't go.
Yeah, well, I think unfortunately, it's good that people have found it because it's a wonderful place, but it's very popular now. I think over pandemic times, people were looking for stuff near to them to go and work around, but It's but it's changing because it's a managed forest. It's it changes. I've been there and I was thinking, crikey, where's all those trees gone? So it's always different, and it's quite a hilly forest as well. So it's I used to go from a previous agency I worked from. I used to go there sort of like on my way home, take an extended detour back to the flatlands via Mac Forest, and I've had some wonderful times out there just running around there, alone. And you don't. It's nice because there's enough. There's always someone around, so it's not, but you can get away from it, and you're just away with your thoughts.
Yeah,
and as
nice.
a creative, sometimes you need time. Those times away, either walking, running, whatever, just to offload them in your head and let them go. Because I don't know if you're like if you're preparing for a shoot or whatever, you can't switch your mind off.
100%. And I can't. I really struggle if I'm on a job during the day and then someone says, can you prep for another job in the evening? I struggle to switch hats, if that makes sense. So I get all confused. So now I block days out to prep during the day so I can put a different hat on, and I'm but definitely like walking the dog. It just, out in the hills, walk the dog, everything comes out and I can sort my head out and which way I'm going.
Yeah. Well, I remember one shoot as well. I didn't take a liberty because by the time I'd have got back to the agency, it would have been gone time. But I did extend it a little bit because I was right by Pendle Hill. So
nice.
We'd finished about 3 or 4. So that was it. I knew where we were going. The kit was in the car. And so straight after there I was up at Pendle Hill running around. Oh, it was brilliant. And you've got to take these, when it lands you in country like that, you've got to take advantage.
Yeah, 100%. I remember we went up Pendle Hill and they said, we're going to go on a walk today and we're going up this hill, and that's the one with the witches, isn't it?
Yes.
Some sort of. And then we walked up and it was the foggiest day, and he was telling me all these like witch stories as we're walking up, and I was like looking around like, oh God, I hope there's no like weird scenario happening here and no like old school witches coming out of there.
No, I think it was, I won't pretend, I have known the story about the Pendle Witches, but I can't pretend to tell you what it was all about. It's probably quite a sad story, really. But they've good on them. They've kind of latched onto that story and made,
Yeah.
It's good for that kind of area. They get visitors because of that.
Yeah,
so
100%.
It is.
I've got a question for you. I would like to know how you got into art directing and graphic design and designing artwork and things.
Wow. Right. Well, I went to college.
Yeah.
And the reason in Weston-super-Mare, absolute worst place. But it was, and the second, it was only it's funny actually because it was a BTEC National Diploma in Graphic Design is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And not so long ago, my son came home once. Was it about a year ago? He said, "Oh, that's so BTEC." I was like, "What?" BTEC is a slang word for being rubbish, apparently.
Really?
So I didn't know if, he went, "Oh, that's so BTEC."
What? Yeah. I feel offended too because I did a BTEC in fine art. So
yes, yeah, but I don't know if that's just a snobby Cheshire school thing or what. I don't know, but I thought it was quite fun.
I'm gobsmacked.
Yes, well, there you are. I'm not known for being down with the kids, but there you are. I obviously am now. I've brought that to the world. BTEC is now a slang word. Anyway, I digress. So, yes, Weston-super-Mare, graphic design, BTEC, and then I went. I was very lucky because my dad was working for. He worked for a tobacco company, but he never smoked. There you go. Irony for you. but he dealt with a lot of design agencies and printers, and I got a bit of work experience, and which turned into a job. And he said, "Oh, we've got a job for you in the studio." Now, me be thinking, I thought that was the design studio. It wasn't. It was like the planning and pre-press studio. And that was back when they were still. Well, I remember the day when they brought the first Macintosh in, as they called it.
Yeah.
So that is a long time ago. So I'm letting my age slip here, but anyway, I don't care. It's so. But what it did, so you was doing stuff on benches and, planning up films and all this kind of hand cut stuff and all that. So it's quite basic, but again, a bit of a good rounding. And, I was having to clock in, would you believe? I'd have to be there at 8 o'clock, which was, good kind of, I don't know, kept your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Having to walk through the factory floor and the big print machines to go and work, it kept you grounded. And I don't ever regret that, because it's done me well. But the problem is with clocking in at 8 o'clock in the morning. If you're in a band and you got stars in your eyes and you don't come back till 3 o'clock in the morning, when you've been playing a gig over in Newport or Cardiff, and you've fallen asleep at the wheel, you really was burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah.
But I won't bore you with that kind of story. But
no, tell us what happened. What band were you in? What music? What music did you play?
It was the classic rock band, heavy metal rock band. Then,
nice.
And then I was in some punk rock bands following that. It was all original stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to push your own original stuff, then you're going to be playing to empty clubs and stuff, which we were. It was, they call it the toilet tour. Not that we ever went on tour, but we always played some horrible places. And but again, it was character building.
Yeah.
But I was drumming then in a band, and we'd play these places. And being the drummer, I was the one with the van. So I'd have all the gear, unload that before I could go to bed. And then I was up, so you'd get back 2 o'clock in the morning, then you was up. And it was about a 40-minute drive where I was working. So, yeah.
Oh, that definitely was burning the candle at both ends, wasn't it?
I paid my dues, I think.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. So from that print place, I went to, where did I go next? I went to another print place and then another print place. But although it was pre-press, I was a frustrated designer, but I think I lacked a bit of confidence, actually. I'd get working from agencies and see some of the stuff, and I think some of the flowery talk, shall we say, put me off. know, I didn't quite have the confidence to see through that at that time. But I'd always, at these places, it was always good for, I think being in the bands is, we're all right, we're never going to go anywhere. I saw that quite quickly, but I loved the promotional side of it. Mm-hmm. And I think, half why we did sometimes a lot better than other bands is that there was a graphic designer or two that working at agencies in the band that knew how to promote something. Yeah. And just designing the flyers and the posters and whatever else that went with it was the enjoyment I got. And it took me too long to realise, well, actually, why don't you just do that bit? Because really I was doing everything. I was, driving about. I was pushing the bands I was in and doing all promotion. And it's like, well, you're actually enjoying the designing and the promoting side. So eventually, but, I was struggling for stuff from my portfolio, but that helped. Yeah. And then I just took, freelance jobs on the side. I've always had a side hustle or taken on little jobs here and there just to keep it fresh, Yeah. So, and then came 2005. I'd met somebody quite wonderful who showed me a different side of life to things. And cut a long story short, we ended up moving to Cheshire. And I said, I'm not moving until I get the job I want.
Yeah.
And I ended up landing a really nice design job. They saw potential in what I was showing in my book.
Yeah.
They gave me a chance, and they did. They did. And the fact that I was really keen and, quite open to what I was doing, and I think I even remember what I said. I said, I've got a hat full of ideas and I'm looking for someone or an agency for letting me, use all those ideas I haven't. And they did. They were true to the word and I was true to mine, and that was it. And there I was working in the Delphi Mill in Bollington, right by the canal.
Oh, nice.
It was a lovely... God, I've never worked in such a sauna in the summer, though. So, the old mills are usually cold places, but not in the summer, even with the windows open and the aircon was rubbish. But it was... I think it was there at 7 or 8, and that's where, I finally got the creative job I'd been after.
Oh,
I was doing more art direction stuff, so like a lot more food photography. There was some wonderful people that I worked with, really creative people, and right up my street. You know what I mean? And I think moving from the southwest, because I was, when I was in bands and working in the print place, that was all down Bristol way.
Mm-hmm.
So moving up into Cheshire, to the northwest was... I always thought I'd moved to Australia for some reason, but I went there and I came back and thought, no, it's a bit too far. Because I wanted to do... I was obviously craving something, a change.
Yeah.
And moving up to the northwest was it, as it spanned. It was the best thing I ever did. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how I got to where I am now. And then, as some agencies do, things started to change there. Again, the people I didn't want to leave, and especially being where it was in Bollington, a nice canal side lookout, and you're right by White Nancy and the Kerridge Ridge, which is a nice little hill to be running up in your lunchtime.
Yeah.
So it was actually the running side of it that kept me there for so long, because, I was doing okay jobs, it was safe little job, for a certain time. And then that moved to sort of like Trafford Park. The work wasn't so nice. The commute wasn't so nice. And you kind of, I need to be at a different agency. So, again, as creative, people in various agencies, don't burn your bridges, keep in touch with people.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of nice people that from that agency were over in Prestbury. I gave them, they let me know about a job that was going, and I, went in there and said, do you think I'd fit in? They thought I would. And again, it was another, what's the word? That was liberating again. It was a bit of an agency known for a revolving door, to the point that I thought the door downstairs was, and still think now is, revolving, but it's not. You actually push it open. I thought it was. But again, those, I met yourself and some wonderful people and some great stylists and some fantastic photographers, and it's and that was my journey.
Oh, it's insane. Do you still drum now?
No, controversially. I did have a family band for a while.
Oh, did you?
My dad's a bit of a character. He's, bless him, he's probably the coolest dad you could want. And he's still, until recently, until I left the family band, there was only 3 of us as well. I was drumming again. I'd retired. And it was my wife on bass.
Oh, nice.
My dad on guitar. He's a great singer too. We were playing like old standards and the odds. I said, well, I'll join if you play stuff I like. because him and my wife were already playing, and they play running events, bizarrely, because they want to make these like 10K events down his way.
Yeah.
And then running clubs who we know up here. Well, if you're doing that down there, will you come and play at our event? Okay, so my dad would drive up from Bristol to come and play at events up here. So it was only the odd party.
Yeah.
When we moved into our house, we had it just so happened to be my wife's 40th when we moved in.
Yeah.
So we had gazebos and a massive. It looked like almost like a marquee in the back garden, and we played there. And that was, and we got invited to playing there. So we'd be playing old standards at the old white stripes kind of number.
Yeah.
So yeah. So how did we get onto that? Oh, drumming, yeah, bands.
Drumming, yeah.
So yeah. That's, it's always been a part of me. It's not. And then my son had the drums in his room for a bit.
Oh, nice.
Which got me back into it. I don't think I've always wanted to play this Van Halen number and some Slayer songs, so I had to go, no, it's not. I'm not quite there. But especially as my wife said, I thought he was going to come through the floor. Perhaps we... And it was, I don't think the neighbours were quite ready for that either.
Yeah, we've got Nath actually plays a little bit. We've got an electric drum kit that my dad gave him because my dad started drumming as a bit of a release as well. Crikey, probably 5-6 years ago. So he had a proper kit, and then he was like, oh, I think I'm annoying the neighbours, I'll get an electric kit. And then his work kicked off even more, and he couldn't find any time for it. And then Nath wanted to learn, so Dad gave him the electric ones, and they're here in our spare room as well. But they're good because you can put the headphones on, and it's not too when you're hitting it, it's not too thwacky. If that makes sense, it's not like too noisy. So it's good. It's good fun. But we've had one of our friend's little girls. We were babysitting her, and we said, oh, come on, put the headphones on. And she's only about 2 at the time. And we got her playing on the drums. Absolutely loved it. With the headphones on and just proper giving everything a whack. Like, they just love it.
Well, I think in terms of the music side of things, I remember someone said to me, as a singer, you're a great drummer.
That's really funny.
But I knew what you meant. I was always a better drummer, and I think if there was once there was I can't remember why, or what the situation was, but somebody needed a drummer that night. Mm-hmm. I'd never rehearsed for them. I'd never met these people.
Oh God!
But I was still confident. Right, what are you playing? Well, we play this, that, and the other, and it was just some old rock and roll stuff. And we did a gig, and I never played with them again. They did that one gig. I don't know what happened to the drummer that night, but they needed a drummer, and that was that. So I'd be quite comfortable as a drummer playing, but if you had to go and sing, as I was a singer of a band for a bit, not so much. I haven't got the range. I couldn't hold my own, but drummer probably just about. Except if it was Slayer, I couldn't.
It's funny what creative people often have lots of different tangents. Like there's music often, and or there's crafts, or there's lots of different things going on, isn't there, with all of us creatives? Yes,
it is. But coming back to what we touched on before, is that it's I've learned a technique of how to stop it now. But when you've got ideas in your head, there's part of you wants you to. I just need to go to sleep now, but I don't want to forget this idea. But I have learned to actually write them down as quickly, even if it's just no. I mean, I'm not a very good drawer, or I don't sketch is probably a better way to say that. So any scrapbooks or sketchbooks I have are usually just full of words.
Yeah.
And little arrows, right, do this and this idea for that. And so, but although I've done what helps me, I've started to sell prints of them or have them online to sell. A lot more collage work.
Oh, nice.
And it's something I've always wanted to do, but never had confidence to do. But again, back to this abstract art workshop I did. It's all about, it's very much like design in that, you know, everything has a place, even if it's just a splash of paint in the corner, which, you know, there's a lot of absolute nonsense talked about in the art world.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's you know, there is some absolute up your arse kind of talking, but I love the abstract art, and I know to some people it's not, they don't see it, but I you know, finally do, having done a bit of collage work. And when I talk about collage, it is abstract in that there's bits of paper, and I found at the agency I was worked on, they had a big clear out, and I rescued this box of paper samples.
Oh, nice.
I kind of said, is it all right to take these? And kind of didn't wait for an answer. I just took them.
Yeah.
Because I knew they were somebody, but they didn't want them. Anyway, but they're all different shades and textures and stuff. So I kind of used them as a base to create these abstract. To me, they're like designs, but they're abstract artworks. But everything has a place. And it's amazing when you're just working with basic shapes and textures. Yeah. Even there was this assemblage of squares and rectangles and semicircles and a bit of scribble. It said like an Art Deco hotel to me. Yeah. And as an experiment, I have some of these are quite abstract. And I just matched different colours and shapes and bits of magazine, the odd bit of type. And I handed them to a friend of mine who's brutally honest. And I know he appreciates art, more fine art than abstract for me. And he came back with some interesting things which gave me some confidence, because, well, this says, I think, well, yeah, that's what I had in mind, you know. This is Mediterranean, or this is kind of, I don't know why, but this says a hotel to me. Yes, that's exactly what it is. So, you know, that's been quite, having this, you know, free time or any downtime to explore that. Yeah. Just to, it can spark up other ideas and other things in quite mundane layouts.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all kind of, it sounds that it's quite compositional as well. So you're placing stuff. And I really like that part of art as well. I did a lot of screen printing and a lot of lino printing and stuff in college. And I really enjoyed the composition of how to get things right and how you can layer things and make an overall image, but taking the time to layer up rather than just draw it all out in one go.
Yes. And, you know, I've done things, and I've looked and I'm thinking that is a complete load of bollocks. You know?
Yeah.
But I've done that exercise of needing that creative kind of buzz and just to get it out of my system, whatever that is. Yeah. This thing that lurks in the back of your head. I need to do something. I need to be slightly more crafty, or, you know, or just to get, you know, or you've not had any work for a bit and you need that drive, creative drive. Yeah. Just doing those little exercises.
I'm a sod for starting stuff and then half finishing it. So I've got a cross stitch that I started 18 months ago, and it can't be any bigger than like a 6-7 inch hoop, and I've still not finished it. And then I tried to do some of it while we were watching Netflix the other day, and then I've put all of one side as one stitch down because I wasn't fully concentrating on it. Yeah. Then I thought I've got to put it away because otherwise it's going to frustrate me.
Yeah. But just see it as therapy, you know.
Yeah, that's it. And it's just doing it and just executing an idea, and it doesn't matter if it's not finished because I'll finish it eventually. But
yeah,
you know,
I think it comes back to is I'm not into watching TED Talks, but there's one or two that pop up that are absolutely brilliant. Don't ask me what they are because I can't remember. But there was one which is about how, as children, I think it is slightly different now. This is could be almost 10 years old. It's a famous TED Talk of how creativity is learned out if you like, of children. And no, you've got to do it this way. So they become, and as adults, although I've gone the opposite way now, be afraid to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think also in bringing it back to the creative talk angle and having worked in a big agency, I always made a point, if something had gone wrong, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I've always stuck my hand up because, you get to a certain age, not a certain age, that's the wrong phrase, but you get experienced enough, and this is why I feel so liberated now, is that my confidence is back. And I've done enough years now. I know what I'm talking about, but there's a hell of a lot I still don't know. And I'm not. And you do find these people in big ad agencies that like to talk, and the more they talk, you're thinking, you're talking as an excuse because you don't know stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just take it. Here's my idea. This is the meaning behind it. Full stop. There's so much, and I'm not a big talker, but, because a lot of it is in my head, and sometimes I do struggle, I'll admit, to get the meaning behind it out because it's so natural for me.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's just natural to come out and do this. And I already know the meaning behind it, even if it's a bit of abstract work, there's meaning behind it. But, I think some creatives, maybe it's just me, I don't know, or designers, it's so natural you forget to tell people the meaning behind it. And when they can't see it straight away, it can be frustrating for some people.
Yeah.
But why don't you understand?
Yeah.
And you have to remind yourself that you do need a bit of an explanation behind it.
Yeah, I definitely found in college when we'd have to fill like a sketchbook up with, they'd give you a brief, and, I'd be able to execute an idea straight away and be like, there it is. And they'd be like, but where's all your kind of working out? And I'm like, well, it's come out of my head. That's what it is. I don't know why I have to put in all this extra work.
Yeah.
Here's my final piece. Cool.
Yeah.
And that's the bit sometimes, you do. I find that even though despite talking quite a lot, it is quite hard to find the words to describe what you've done, or,
Yeah.
And sometimes it is just that it looks better, or, it works better on a camera angle or whatever.
Well, the thing is that sometimes that is all it is. And I think people need to be more, confident to say that. Well, it just, I did something for a friend of mine, a bit of artwork to go with a magazine article I'd written, and it never got published, unfortunately. Who would know? That's a story. That's a good story for another time. But anyway, he said, well, why is that colour? I understand all the other colours, but why did you put that orange in there? Was it just because it looked nice, or you think it fitted? Yeah, it was. Oh, right, fine. Yeah. Sometimes that is the simple answer. It just that colour just seems to fit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you're designing.
I think that's it as well. Is sometimes it's also okay to be direct and be like, well, it looks nice. I think it looks nice. That's my opinion on it. That's why I've done it like that. If you don't like it, there's no, especially if you're doing something for a client, like how we were, I never really kind of took offense that somebody didn't like it, because at the end of the day, the client's paying you.
Yeah.
It's not a personal thing, but you think it's probably different for your artistry work.
Yeah, to a point, yes. I mean, I've not done a lot of commissions, but the commissions people have come to me. I liked what you did with that one. Can I have something similar? Or here's an idea I've got. It's usually for birthdays or something like that.
Yeah.
Or to commemorate something. And you just have to remind you, I guess age just an experience gives you confidence again. If you remind yourself of that, is that you got to remind you, they've come to you and they're asking you to do something. Don't, what you can sometimes, if you've been doing the same thing over and over again, and some jobs do need that, when you step out as a freelancer, you're kind of in two camps, because some jobs will need you to click into a brand identity and stick with it. But in other times, you've got to remember people are asking you particularly because they've seen your style of work.
Yeah.
And you've got to remind you stuff. And going back to having a reason for things is, I learned this from the designer art commissions and explained for people that have got don't know what they're doing when it comes to art, because they've said, look, we like what you do, but we don't know how to brief it to you. Yeah. This is what we want it for. So you say, well, and then you going back, well, tell me these things about this person or about what they've done or whatever. And even just having a couple of stick figures or boxes and circles and I've literally done it on a A6 piece of paper, drawn out in lines, right, well, this will go here and that will go here, scanned it in and sent it to them. Oh, right, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So just doing something, that's what I do now, is the whole beer mat thing, as they say, an idea on the back of a beer mat. It's still true, even in a digital age.
Yeah.
It can be, if you're not going to do it on a beer mat, just draw some lines on your Mac, say this, that, and there. There's a template, and I think maybe that's just me. I don't know, but still, even in this age, people like scamps.
Yeah,
a rougher idea of where it's going.
I definitely love having a scamp off someone, and they say, "This is what we're aiming for. This is just a little bit of direction." I think helps massively, personally, and if it's a visual direction as well, because I'm a very visual person, that definitely helps. Even like this job I was on last week, I was hopping on because someone was on holiday, so I just went through the Capture One and just looked at what they were previously doing and thought, yep, I know kind of what the client wants here. I know roughly what they want. Boom, let's and I think people are either, I found people are either visual or they like it verbal, like description. And some people are a hybrid, but more so than not, us creatives are all visual, I found.
Yeah, I think it's slightly different. I think when you're on set on a photography shoot, it's probably better. But then it's, I think as a creative, your job is to be able to adapt to whatever situation is in front of you.
Yeah.
Even that's just talking the concept or whatever,
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely helpful as well to have people to bounce those ideas off, and then somebody say, like, for example, it's a big supermarket, so their vibe is this. Or I've had people before say, the clientele of this brand is a 45-year-old woman. She's got 2 kids. Describe kind of their clientele, and that helps as well.
Yeah.
For you to visualize who you're dressing these models for or whatever.
Yeah, what the demographic is, but which is it's. Now and again, I struggle with that, especially on some of the retail stuff I've worked with. The demographic, because I don't know. It's like, well, the world is so. It's not like everyone's different now.
Yeah.
There'll be a time when there isn't a demographic. I think, and the quicker that comes, the better.
Yeah.
Because I don't like it's I don't know, is it an oxymoron when you say that I don't like sticking in the framework, but it really does help me when I have one to work around.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's nice to, because as a creative as well, if you don't have these even faint boundaries of framework or scamps or what have you, we could go off on a tangent for hours on one shot.
Yeah.
It could look absolutely stunning, but it might not be what the client wants at all.
Yeah.
But we've just all gone, and we'll go with this and go with this, because we're all very fluid people within that. And it is helpful to have at least a little bit of a boundary there.
Yeah, and I think also, not just for freelancers, but designers nowadays have got to be a bit more business-like. You've, as I said, what we've probably said before, you've got to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to your whole well-being and stress levels. Not that I've really suffered that much with stress, but because, it's on a retail account, which I was working on, it could be. But you can't, it's just, you're doing, it's difficult, I think, for creatives. At the end of the day, you are doing a job. And sometimes you've just got to do the bread and butter to get it over the line.
Yeah. Get
that over the line, and then you can do the really creative, juicy stuff around the edges. And one day that they all come together as one, and you have a fantastic brief to work on.
Yeah, that's true. How have you found art direction and graphic design? Has it changed? Obviously, it's changed from into digital, but how has it changed for you? Has it gone beyond what you ever thought it was going to be, or with regards to tech? And
no, I again, it's probably spouting on. I've met a couple of people on my journey to where I am now. Is that people my age? I forget they're my age because I think, who's this dinosaur? Because they haven't moved. Yeah. I think, how are you surviving in this industry? Do you know what I mean? And I don't know if I'm qualified to answer the question. And that sounds strange, I know, because I always, even though I've been a creative and a designer now for years, because I came from print and almost came into as a creative designer through the back door. Yeah. I've always just accepted how things are. So I don't know, everything's always been digital, especially when working on the photography side of things and the art direction. Yeah. There are quicker and more, better ways to do things, but I don't think I wasn't there from the transition from film to digital on the photography side. So I've never known anything different. There's definitely, coming back to having frameworks and stuff for a shoot, there's definitely, I found, quicker ways to work. Yeah. But it's still quite manual or analog, shall we say. Having even I did got a side hustle for a little artwork and apparel brand, Johnny Felron. It's only a tiny little acorn at the moment, but it's been a few years. But for that, I did a photo shoot with some of the people from Craft. And I just drew up, literally, a little simple scamp and a few notes. And that still works. And I think even though everything is digital, you still need the idea, whether that's written down, drafted up on your mat or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe in sort of like more, there's a lot more motion around, obviously, with the 360s on the retail side of things, and motion graphics, for, whatever e-coms you're doing, or tiles for this, and, banners for that. But it's the basis of design work or art direction work. It hasn't changed for me that much over the last 10 or so years. Yeah. There's obviously a lot quicker ways of doing stuff. And we used to have big meetings before photo shoots for whatever was coming next. Yeah. But I don't think they're that necessary anymore, though they don't need to be. I think you do things more on the fly now. Yeah. And I don't know if that's because you become more used to it. But I think things move quicker and things happen a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I think perhaps the only thing that has got better or has changed is that there's no more mess. There's no need for unnecessary messing about or faffing or going for, stick with that one idea you've been battling with for about a month. Yeah. That is the one. And when it comes to, the shoot, that should be done. You've got to have that experience and the creative nous if things go wrong or something happens with a prop.
Yeah.
To work around it and have a compromise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just things, cutting out the faff, perhaps.
Yeah.
Is the one thing.
I definitely have found over the past 5 years, the way I've been booked has changed, and the way in which people have planned shoots has changed. I used to get booked like 2 months in advance, and now it's like, are you free next week? That's changed an awful lot. And I don't know whether the speed in production's changed and the production of actual product has changed. And I think the pandemic didn't help because it held a lot of products up in China or wherever it's being made. But it's definitely become a lot more last minute. And like you say, I feel like there's more urgency with stuff, and there's almost less consideration in some points as well.
Yeah, there are downsides. I think maybe the one thing I have noticed is that, especially in advertising, where I think in the 80s the ad agencies had too much power.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of freedom with that.
Yeah.
And then with the digital side of things, then especially on photography side of things, and with phones getting better and whatever, everyone thinks they're a photographer.
Yeah.
Well, they're not, clearly. But so there's that kind of, or you've got. I've had instances where you as an art director, you're there to direct the shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And if clients there, they're saying, "Well, what about this?" No, because we're doing this. Oh, and it's this. I don't know. It's. I think some clients. I mean, people I work with at the moment. It's not it's no big thing, but I think maybe technology has made some people think they're more qualified to have an opinion on something that everyone has a valid opinion. And as a creative, you should say, well, yes, I see where you're coming from, but and occasionally they are right. Can we do it this way? Yes. You should always value their opinion. Well, they're paying you for a start. Never lose sight of that. But I think, 8 is probably too much.
Mm.
And then, but sometimes it can go the other way now, where not the clients as much, but even people in their own agency are justifying their jobs and have to have an opinion instead of letting you get on with what you're doing. But I think that's the same in any job,
Yeah.
If you've got a damn good idea or a damn good, even if it's down to how things are laid out on a page, if you're confident in what you're doing, and you know your stuff, take the idea. If it's no good, say it hasn't worked. And if they want to go with that idea, you've still got something else for your portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's that balance, isn't it? And I think you're right. I think the power has moved to social media. A lot of clients are wanting stuff for Instagram stories, TikTok. I mean, half my work that I've done for a drinks company is gone on their Instagram stories. So you see it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think the way the world is, it's more instant, more, and I think that the marketing agencies have changed. They've not had months where they've had to consider a massive billboard, or maybe even a year. They've got this decision's got to be sorted now, and it's got to go on Instagram tomorrow or next week, or Mother's Day, Easter.
Yeah, I think, and that's there's still a definite skill or having the nous to do social media properly and well. And it's quite interesting doing that, and there's a lot more seeing the odd branded kind of stories now, and setting up templates for brands to do their present their social media output, but not a lot. I think it's a definite skill, but I'm not and I think it will run a course as it is at the minute. It's going along, and it serves its purpose. It's part of advertising now, but I struggle to see the creative side of it yet. You've still got to have the idea of the campaign or what you're going to shoot or whatever, but in terms of like graphic design, if you like, I think there'll be people will start to reappreciate the skill factor of thing, because even people like I saw, it's more of what they're filming or what they're shooting is what they're trying to capture, which is this like sign writers and stuff, people filming that, or street art or whatever. So people still crave that artistry and the design side of things. So I think it will get reappreciated again.
I feel like it's coming almost full circle again. I feel, having been without internet and then with internet, and suddenly you can do everything I can invoice my clients on my phone, which is mind blowing to someone who was used to floppy disks and dad going, don't touch that floppy disk. It's almost like I'm seeing my cousins who are in their late teens kind of sacking off all social media. They're like, we don't want it. And they're kind of going back to these old crafts. I think I feel like that's the way it's going, is they're going back into original sign writing, like you say, or they're finding the artistry in real life.
They want that touchy feel. People still, and I think that's why some agencies or some clients still like to have that, as going back to the scamp, a rough scamp. They still, that's your idea from your head hitting a paper. And it's, they still love that tactileness of that, and or the worth of something. Because it's very much been a decade of throw away, and we're realizing that's it's taken all this technology we've got, which is absolutely brilliant, and we're doing this, which is brilliant, and I love all the technology that we've got. Some you don't need. But it's mostly brilliant. It's just how people use it is not always the best. It should be another string to your bow.
I agree with you. It's really hard to I find it hard anyway to separate myself out sometimes from trying to be creative on social media and then just still being a bit private, because I think I've grown up with people putting what they had for dinner on Facebook, and everyone was all of a sudden very open on social media. So
and
it's hard to
take that back.
No, unfortunately, there's a couple of old profiles of mine from a long time ago, just floating around in the cloud or whatever. And it's hard to. We're so used to being advertised at constantly as well on social media, and it's difficult to separate yourself out, isn't it? And just have that private time as well.
Yeah, well, I remember when I first saw Instagram, it was known for its filter, its whatever that filter was, and it was about photography, and that's why I got in it, because I thought, well, I don't want to be involved in the other social media yet because,
yeah,
but this is one for me because it's creative almost.
yeah,
And it was for a while, and it was all about the quality of the picture. And now it's just another social media thing.
yeah,
But I think even that is going back. I think depends who you're following, but Instagram for me is still a go-to on social media because of the quality of posts as opposed to look what I had for dinner.
Yeah, I've got like a couple of accounts. I've got one for the podcast. I've got my work one, which shows like little highlights of like behind the scenes, what I'm allowed to film basically, or allowed to take a shot of, or, and then I've got my own personal one that's private, where I put all my like shoddy DIY on or whatever. But I remember it being all about photography and that weird vignette filter on it, and it was just all about, like, for us creatives, it was pretty cool because you were like, right, let's take a nice picture of the sunset, let's take a nice picture of, and it was it is going, I think you're right, it depends who you follow, but it is swinging back a little bit of like, or maybe as well I'm trying to swing mine back to a bit more like, I've got a nice sunset, or there's a picture of the dog, or, a picture of me and Nath or whatever. But it is, you do fall in that, like, you're not knowingly being advertised to, but you kind of are being advertised to in a certain way as well. And it's really hard not to be that person when you're using it as a portfolio as well. Because you kind of don't want to be like, it's a really useful tool for us to go, I'm available this week, blah, 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 give me a shout. Or, it's really great, but also I don't want to be that person who's like, come and buy this off me, come and do it. It's it can be quite, that balance is hard to strike.
Yeah, I think this is where the people that do social media the best are the ones that, realise if you're going to just keep selling at people, they've got to be at least have a story, or it's got to be engaging.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where, creatives come in.
Yeah.
But it's ever changing, and it will reinvent itself as it goes along.
Yeah, it will. Do you use TikTok?
No, I don't. No, I have got an account, but I can't remember if I've even posted anything. I was working on a brief, and they wanted to sell something to generation Gen Z, and whatever. And I looked at, did a bit of research on TikTok, and now it's, when it's done well, it's good, but it's like, I know one of the discounter supermarkets did a very good one of the fashion shoot in the store.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where it. Yeah, it's everything. Every channel has its niche kind of way of doing things.
Yeah.
But I'm not a big TikToker because I don't know. Maybe I just find it a bit naff. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not being snob about it. It's just, it has its uses. It's just, I think also it's like, I can't be asked to do another one,
Yeah. I've definitely I have to put a timer on it because I lose hours looking at like people's dogs. It's mostly dogs, or people's get ready with me videos, because that's quite nice to see how people are getting dressed and what they're wearing, day to day or whatever. But yeah, it can be a bit naff, and it depends what the algorithm throws at you as well, which is also a bit of a mind fuck really, because I get sent like tarot stuff, or it'll be like people with their kids, and I think, I've not got a kid, so I don't really know why I'm being sent this.
What was the bizarre? I don't do TikTok, but I do. I sounded really old when I said that. TikTok. But I watch a lot of, or get dragged down rabbit holes on reels and stories on Instagram.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, it's always people fishing for catfish. I don't know.
Oh, really?
And maybe I've watched a couple of Jeremy Wade videos.
Yeah, and they're
River
just
monsters.
yeah.
It's always a catfish. Why doesn't he just tell us that? This river monster, it's a catfish, Jeremy. Anyway, yeah, I digress. But yeah, I don't see. Yeah, some of the algorithms throw up some funny stuff.
Yeah, I find it just. There's another one, isn't there, called Be Real or something, where you it sends you a notification and you take a picture with your front camera and your back camera at the same time, and it's, I don't know, you might be sat on the toilet or whatever. And my little cousin's well into that one, and I'm like, I don't really understand the concept of that. But then she's saying it's because we're also used to super over filtered stuff, which there is so many filters on there, like the wizardry is magic. But she's saying it's like no filters, there's nothing like to it other than. So it's almost gone back, like we were saying, it's almost gone back full circle of it just being a very instant shot, and that's it. Like, but it'll just go at random times throughout the day.
Yeah, I think that's also going back to is knowing your history of stuff. Is that it's quite interesting that my brother's son and my son, some of the music they listen to. It's like, well, I thought that was old when I was listening to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's some yeah. But I think it's just all the want to know the history. I guess it comes back to worth.
Yeah.
And back to what we do. When we're discussing ideas, it's got to have some worth.
Yeah, I think so. And I think for a long time, worth in social media has been put on how many likes you've got, how many views you've got. And, we've attached ourselves to needing the validation from others. When actually it's quite hard to have the confidence to be like, I am who I am. If you like me, cool. If not, no worries.
Yeah.
But that's almost the core of it, really, is you are who you are. You don't need to be validated by these extra likes or comments underneath. And I wonder how it's affecting people's mental health, actually.
Oh, yeah, massively. It does. But especially having younger kids, that when we've seen them grow up, and we've always been quite hot on when they can have a phone and when they can go on certain social media types, and it's so hard because they don't understand why. Well, why can't I? And and it's they don't. I think one of the things I was thinking, I don't know if it's true, is like when I was growing up, we had the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and those were quite seminal decades where stuff happened.
Yeah.
So the late 90s, early 90s, sorry, like when, the internet started coming into our lives or whatever. That was a big change, but this generation, they've always had that, so it's immediate. Everything is immediate and on hand.
Yeah.
And even like food, well, I can go and get a kumquat from Waitrose or whatever that is,
Yeah.
Well, they weren't around, It's knowing the worth again and things. And it's interesting where, seeing the supermarkets now where they haven't got veg and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where, it's well, why? Well, because it comes from that country and it comes to here, and now that country can't produce that anymore. It's not coming, or
yeah.
So, but that's a whole another rabbit hole, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's I've tried in the past probably 6 months, maybe even year. I've tried to come away from news too much because we are almost fed too much too instantly about the entire world, and our brains just cannot cope with it. We're built to deal with our community and family and our smaller area of stuff, rather than thinking about stuff that's going on in, I don't know, Ukraine, China, worldwide. And I think that it can really overwhelm an already busy mind.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't got room for much more, to be honest.
No, same. I went to the supermarket today and it said like you're only allowed 3 cucumbers per customer or something because of the weather, or whether it's Brexit, I don't know. And I thought, who the fuck's eating 3 cucumbers in a week?
Yeah, I know.
Like,
the same people that stashed all them toilet rolls in COVID.
Oh my God, yeah. That was hideous, wasn't it? That was hideous.
Oh. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
That's another one. Another rabbit hole.
We're on like, is it nearly, let me just check. It's nearly 3 years ago, isn't it?
Yes.
Does not feel like 3 years ago.
No. Well, when it started, yeah. So it's,
Yeah.
What's happening? Thank the Lord we're back where we are. But
yeah.
I think I think a few things good have come out of that. And there's been a definitely awakening of people of what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that's a good thing. And yes, I definitely got used for working from home, and now I love it. But
yeah,
I think I do actually really enjoy the times when I do get out, as we were saying before, to meet people.
Yeah.
And I think if you're working as part of a creative team, you can't beat being together physically.
Yeah.
Even if it's for a day or two.
Yeah. So do you hybrid? During the pandemic, let me start these questions again. During the pandemic, you were working from home. So then did you have to hybrid back in? Have I got that right?
No. We had a trial day at the agency we were working from, just the day before it went into official lockdown.
Yeah.
To see what it would be like, and never went back. I did go back a couple of times. I went back a couple of times. There was one part of the process I'd go on a Friday because I knew it'd be quiet in there.
Yeah.
And at that point, I had to be near the service because it was working with some big files.
Yeah.
And over Wi-Fi and the home connection, it was taking ages to do it, whereas it would just zip straight to the server back there. So that made sense to go in, but I hated going back in. It was, I don't know, the atmosphere wasn't the same and didn't like it. So I went in 4 or 5 times maybe over that. But no, it was to go in, and it was like I wasn't getting enough done.
Oh, really?
Because it was a fact that the little team that did the same job, our production went up massively when we all worked from home. That was a fact.
Wow.
So it was, yes, we was always on Teams, always chatting.
Yeah.
To keep in touch. And we did miss that. When we had an agency party, it was a summer party that I went to, which I used as my leaving do, if you like. Yeah. And that was just absolutely crazy. Just, I think it just was the final release of everybody,
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it was. No, I never really went back. I'd always wanted to work from home anyway, because I had all the kit. I still work from home now, and every freelance job I've had since working, since I've been going front, has been remote.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd like, and now we have a dog, so I try and stay at home whenever I can.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've never really been back. I've always worked from home for the past few years.
Oh, that's nice.
It is. I mean, it's when I was at the agency, just overnight we just kept going, but working from home because we could.
Yeah.
And having that process and that client, it just worked. We were lucky.
Yeah.
They really needed us, and we needed them, to keep the jobs and stuff. So just the learnings from that But I am conscious now that I do need to. Now we've got the dog, I get out every day.
Yeah.
And it sounds a simple thing, but you just need to get out.
Yeah.
You can't be becoming a hermit at home.
No.
And it's just going out for the day, like I keep going on about it, but it was this workshop I paid for over in Chester. Yeah. Just going out and getting on a train to get there.
Yeah.
And was,
Yeah.
It not inspiring. What's the... inspiring. It just gives you, a fresh look on life again.
Yeah.
So it's definitely is one thing that I'm going to plan in, even if I don't need to be there, is to actually go somewhere. Yeah,
that's a good idea. There's lots of co-working spaces in, I think it's called By Colony, and they've got one in Stockport, and I think they've got a few dotted around in South Manchester / Cheshire, and they always look really nice.
Yeah.
To go in, like, even if you're, hot desking for a day, just to get out of a routine and try something different, is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, life for me at the minute is it's kind of the one I always wanted that I've never realised.
Yeah.
If you like.
Yeah.
Without being too profound, I'm not trying.
No.
It's just I'm very much a realist, as you've probably recognised. But
yeah. Could you tell me about your dog, please?
Well, I'm just saying she's not scratching at the door, but Jessie, her name is.
Oh.
A little black lab. She's a dinky lab. She's not one of these big monster labs. She's a dinky lab, and I grew up. My mum and dad had dogs.
Yeah.
But it was the rest of the family that wanted, so the kids and my wife, let's have a dog. No, I'm not having a dog. If we work from home, I might consider it. And then obviously I started working from home. So it was on the agenda again, and I was badgering them. And I thought, I've always wanted a dog, but I know what, kind of built of what a hassle it might be, because I knew it'd be me working.
Yeah.
Looking after her and stuff. But she's a wonderful dog. We had her from 6 months.
Yeah.
We were looking to rescue a dog, because I think that's the way to go. But all the ones we found that either our kids weren't the right age, or there was an issue that we weren't prepared or didn't think we were equipped to take on.
Yeah.
So that's good, because there's obviously the checks in there. And we spoke to a couple of people, and they clearly weren't doing it for the right reason. But Jessie popped up. She was had been bought to be bred from by a breeder.
Oof.
But no, all legit and all proper, because he was a breeder and lived over in Delamere Forest. Very nice bloke, and in a very nice area. And there was some illness in the family, which we didn't get into. But it was all genuine, everything checked out. And she'd been very well trained. The other dogs she was with were very nice, black labs also. She wasn't related to them. And he vetted us quite, not severely, but right.
Yeah.
Everything checked out, and so we had all the paperwork, seeing her family history and all that. So we got her, and she just fitted straight in.
Yeah.
And this is in reality, this is the reason why I didn't want a dog, because I knew I'd go soft and be absolutely, completely smitten with her. And I was right. So I do find she's young, so she's just 1 now.
Yeah.
February the 6th. So, but she's lovely to have about the place.
Yeah.
And she does, with her being young, she just pester me quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite rightly, 'cause I want to go out, or she just wants to play quite a lot of the time. But which is it's a nice problem, but sometimes I have to learn to sort of ignore it, because when you're on a train of thought, I lose it.
Yeah.
So, but again, she comes everywhere with us.
Yeah.
She's good as gold. So, yeah, who knows? I might take her out when I work sometimes,
Yeah, nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, it's we did talk about it in lockdown, but I didn't want to be a lockdown dog owner.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've seen some people that clearly haven't thought it through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people did, knew exactly what they were taking on, and good on them. Because it is a wonderful thing to have a dog, but also, it's unfortunately I've been there when they've not been around anymore as well. So I didn't. But if you think like that, you'll never have a dog. So enjoy the time.
Yeah, exactly. You can see Coco here.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't. I thought it was like another little soft chair you had down there until she moved, and then it's like, oh, you got a dog. She's lovely.
Yeah, she's 12, 13, but we rescued her actually, and much like having a puppy, she tore everything up, ripped carpet up, ate loads of toilet roll, loads of stuff. But she's still got a couple of issues left over, I guess, from being, her previous life before we got her.
Yeah.
But nothing we can't cope with. It's just, but since the pandemic, since I was off for I think it was probably 6 months, and then my work was a bit slow picking back up, she's like glue to me now.
Yeah.
So it's same as you, like she's got to be with me all the time.
Yeah. It's like having it's for us being in the family way. It was like having a toddler for a little bit. But the thing is, that we knew we were busy. We are busy people, but I'm at home all the time, so it works and it's good for the dog because that's. But it's if we were going to get a dog, which we have, it's got to be the right temperament that could fit into our lifestyle because we are busy. Yeah. With kids being here, there, and everywhere with different clubs and stuff. Yeah, it's so she does. So it's but we missed all the puppy stuff.
Yeah,
which I was glad about. Getting her from 6 months, but she was so well trained already.
Yeah. So you didn't have many accidents or anything?
No, I think it was because she was. She used to have a really posh. It was a shed basically that she slept out in the garden.
Yeah.
At the previous owners, but it was a nice one with her own little run of grass outside. It was, a big thing. It wasn't a little kennel, It wasn't Grom kennel or whatever it was outside. But so whenever it went dark, she'd go to the back door because we got patio doors at the back.
Yeah.
I think, what's she doing? If she wanted to go outside, if she thought it was dark, she wanted to go to sleep, so she was going outside.
Oh.
And for the first 2 nights, I slept on a mattress in the hallway with her because she couldn't settle.
Oh.
And she wouldn't stay in a bed downstairs.
Yeah.
And then she came upstairs with us, and I thought, no, we're not having this.
Mm.
And eventually, it just went. Eventually, she slept out on the landing in her bed, and then eventually the bed went back downstairs, and we borrowed a crate. Now, I still not comfortable with locking a dog in a crate. I still don't like it.
Yeah.
But we weren't getting any sleep because she'd wake up in the morning and come and see us, and it's. But she goes in there with the door open of her own accord, and I've left her in the crate with the door open and gone out and come back. She's still there, so she sees it as her little home now.
Yeah, I think my mum and dad, when they got their Jack Russell, about 8 years ago, they crate trained him so that he had his own space.
Yeah.
And exactly the same, like it was rare they kind of shut the door. And he just now goes off. He doesn't have the crate anymore, but he's got his own little bed like tucked under the stairs, and he just goes off to his own little calm area to chill out. I think it's important for him, whether it's a crate or like an alcove or I think it's important for them, especially if you've got loads going on, and like with you saying you've got the kids and stuff, they still need the dogs still need their own little space, don't they, away from everything.
Oh yeah,
sometimes.
she's made that little space hers.
Yeah.
And she's or a little bed in the corner of the kitchen. She now stays there in the morning until all the kids have gone to school.
Yeah.
And it's when they're gone, that's when she comes to say hello, because she knows she just keeps out of the way.
Yeah, yeah. And then at least you're not tripping over her while you're sorting the kids out.
Well, that was another thing with having a little black dog around the place, is that you can't see her sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially in the summer when there was long shadows, like in front of the chair. It's like, stupid stuff like that. But anyway, she's lovely.
Oh.
And she is definitely one of the family.
That's good. Oh. Well, I'm going to end it there, Jon. That was such a lovely chat. And it's been nice to speak to you.
We've been chatting for so long. I can't believe it. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we will. I'll have to come your way and come for a coffee, especially at the Fountain Inn, because that sounds so nice.
Yes, in Mac. So it's a bit of a way for Sandbach, but yeah, it's.
Oh yeah, of course, you're Sandbach, yeah.
Yes, so I'm in the flatlands, but I love Mac and I love Bollington around that area. So yeah, any excuse to go up there, that would be great.
Oh, for sure. Oh well, it's been so nice. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Well, your pleasure.
Bye.
Right, see you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye.